Welcome to the Bookworm Duo. Today we explore books for kids. Let's get started. We're diving into the misadventured summer of Tumbleweed Thompson. Like a real rip-roaring Wild West adventure. It's all cowboys and outlaws and mischief told from the viewpoint of Eugene Appleton. He's a kid who's itching for some excitement. What do you think about the book so far?
It's a classic coming-of-age tale set against the backdrop of the Wild West, which I find really interesting. It's a fun mix of heartwarming moments and wild escapades.
The story kicks off with Eugene trying his best to avoid chores, which, let's be honest, is something every kid tries to do. And that's when he runs into Dr. Beauregard Thompson and his son, Tumbleweed. They are in town selling their Sunshine Swirl Youth Tonic. Things get pretty crazy when a customer drinks the tonic and doesn't quite get the youthful transformation he was expecting.
It's hilarious, right? One minute, the customer seems to be getting taller and stronger, and the next minute, it all ends with a bunch of loud burps. The author really knows how to set a lighthearted tone for the story.
This is where Eugene and Tumbleweed's friendship begins, but it's definitely not all sunshine and rainbows.
You're right. Their friendship is tested almost immediately when they find themselves in a high-stakes card game on a keel boat with a couple of dangerous outlaws.
The way Tumbleweed uses his quick thinking and card tricks to outsmart those outlaws is so cool. It's like something straight out of one of those Dead-Eye Dan novels Eugene loves so much.
And the outlaws aren't just playing cards for fun. They are actually smuggling gunpowder disguised as popping pepper.
Yeah.
That definitely adds a layer of danger to the situation.
Their escape from the keelboat is full of suspense. Tumbleweed even gets his pet raccoon, Bingo, involved. It just goes to show that that Tumbleweed always has a trick up his sleeve, even when things get scary.
Yeah.
But here's something I found interesting. Earlier in the story, Eugene had actually found the outlaw's stash, but thought it was just spices.
That's such a great detail. It adds a bit of mystery to the story and makes you wonder what Eugene would have done if he knew what he'd really stumbled upon.
Next, we see Tumbleweed, who's now living in town, convincing Eugene to go on a treasure hunt for buried gold. He even makes up this whole story about Harmony Curtis's grandmother and a lost family fortune.
He's a natural storyteller, isn't he? And it seems like he's always willing to bend the truth a little to get what he wants. It's also interesting how this sets up a bit of a rivalry between Eugene and Tumbleweed, especially with Harmony being the new girl in town.
Oh, absolutely. The treasure hunt is a complete disaster. It ends with Eugene and Tumbleweed accidentally interrupting a church concert with a tomahawk. Can you believe it?
It's a scene that's both chaotic and hilarious, and their rivalry doesn't stop there. Tumbleweed even enters Charlotte's essay contest under Eugene's name, which leads to a wild shooting contest judged by the legendary Tess Remington. What do you think about that part?
It's wild. And then we find out that Tess Remington is actually Tumbleweed's mother. That definitely came as a surprise. It was great seeing the Thompson family reunite. But it also made me think about Tumbleweed's past and why he seems to always be on the move. What are your thoughts on that?
I agree. This reunion reveals a lot about Tumbleweed. Maybe his nomadic lifestyle and his tendency to stretch the truth stem from a need for stability or a fear of getting too close to people. It makes you wonder what he's been through.
So true. It seems like there's always more Tumbleweed than meets the eye. But the story takes a more serious turn when the boys discover that a gang called the Clean Shave Gang is planning to rob a train. And guess what? Their attempts to alert the authorities lead them to uncover Wendell's secret past as an outlaw named Silas Hayes. Wendell, the town barber.
It's a shocking twist, right? Who would have thought that the quiet barber had such a colorful past? It really makes you question why he chose to live a simple life in Rattlesnake Junction. What do you think? What do you think he's running from or towards?
It definitely makes you wonder, doesn't it? I'm really intrigued by Wendell's story and what role he'll play as the story unfolds.
Me too. It seems like there's a lot more to uncover about Wendell's past, plus I have a feeling Eugene and Tumbleweed's adventures are far from over. What do you think awaits us in the next part of our deep dive?
I think we are about to delve deeper into the mystery of the Clean Shave Gang and witness Eugene facing challenges that truly test his courage. It's going to be a wild ride. Stay tuned for more as we continue our journey through the misadventured summer of Tumbleweed Thompson.
It's amazing how the author, Glen McCarty, manages to weave together humor, mystery, and heartwarming moments in this story. As we continue exploring the misadventured summer of Tumbleweed Thompson, we see Eugene's character growing and his thirst for adventure leading him down some pretty unexpected paths. What stands out to you about Eugene so far?
Well, I think that scene where Eugene finds the outlaw's stash of explosives is a great example of that. At first, he thinks it's just spices, but then it hits him that it's something much more dangerous. It really adds a layer of intrigue to the story.
Yeah, it's those little details and plot twists that keep you engaged. And as the story goes on, we see Eugene and Tumbleweed's friendship getting stronger. Even though they are very different, it reminds you that real friendship can handle even the toughest challenges. What are your thoughts on their friendship?
Well, I think it's fascinating how their friendship develops. They start as two kids from completely different backgrounds, but they find common ground in their love for adventure. And even though they have their disagreements and rivalries, they always seem to have each other's backs in the end.
Exactly. And speaking of rivalry, remember that hilarious scene with the treasure hunt? Tumbleweed, always the schemer, convinces Eugene to help him look for buried gold, using that made-up story about Harmony Curtis's grandmother. And of course, their plan backfires in a spectacular way when they end up crashing a church concert with a tomahawk.
That scene was pure chaos,
Yeah.
but in the best way possible. It's like their adventurous spirits get the better of them, and they don't always think things through.
You hit the nail on the head, and then there's that unforgettable shooting contest, where Tumbleweed enters Charlotte's essay contest using Eugene's name just so he can win a shooting lesson from the legendary Tess Remington. It's a pretty bold move, even for him.
It's definitely a moment that shows Tumbleweed's determination, but also his willingness to bend the rules.
Yeah.
What I found really interesting was how the contest turns into a family reunion when Tess Remington is revealed to be Tumbleweed's long-lost mother.
It's a huge twist that changes everything. Suddenly we start to understand Tumbleweed's background, his nomadic lifestyle, and why he tells tall tales. It makes his character even more interesting, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. It adds so much depth to his character. You start to see that there's more to him than meets the eye. He's not just a mischievous trickster. He's a kid who's been through a lot and has built up walls to protect himself.
And it's at this point in the story that things take a more serious turn. Eugene and Tumbleweed stumble upon evidence that the Clean Shave Gang is planning to rob a train, and their attempts to alert the authorities lead them to Wendell's barbershop, where they uncover his secret past as the outlaw Silas Hayes.
Talk about a jaw-dropping moment. The quiet, unassuming barber turns out to be a former outlaw. It really makes you wonder about his motives for living such a simple life in Rattlesnake Junction. What do you make as Wendell's secret?
It's a fascinating twist that adds a whole new dimension to the story. Suddenly you're questioning everything you thought you knew about Wendell. Is he truly reformed? Or is he hiding something more sinister?
I'm leaning towards him being a good guy deep down. Maybe he's trying to make amends for his past by living a quiet life and helping others.
That's a plausible theory. But I'm also curious about his connection to the leader of the Clean Shave Gang, Trent Berger. It seems like there's a lot of history there, and I have a feeling it's going to play a significant role in the upcoming events.
I agree. There's definitely a lot more to uncover about Wendell and his past. And speaking of upcoming events, the train robbery itself is one of the most action-packed scenes in the book. Wendell gets captured by the gang, and Eugene, in a moment of incredible bravery, tries to rescue both Tumbleweed and a kidnapped family who were also on the train.
It's a pivotal moment for Eugene's character. He finally starts to embody that right stuff that Tumbleweed's always talking about. He's no longer just a boy yearning for adventure. He's taking action, facing danger head-on, and proving his courage.
I love how Eugene steps up to the challenge. It shows how much he's grown since the beginning of the story. And just when you think things couldn't get any more intense, there's a dramatic twist involving Wendell's past that changes everything.
Oh, definitely. It's one of those twists that makes you gasp out loud and want to reread the previous chapters to see if you missed any clues.
Right. And the way McCarty balances those moments of suspense with lighthearted humor throughout the book is brilliant. It keeps you on the edge of your seat while also making you laugh.
Absolutely. It's a perfect blend that makes the story so engaging. And the ending of this section is just as satisfying. Eugene manages to outsmart the remaining gang members, Hackensack and Plunkett, leading them straight into a trap at the courthouse. And even though they are dangerous criminals, you can't help but chuckle at Hackensack's awkward attempt to profess his love for Miss Wimberly during the trial.
It's a perfect example of how McCarty manages to inject humor into even the most serious situations. And the fact that justice prevails in the end is also really satisfying.
But amidst all the excitement and humor, there are also some truly heartwarming moments. Wendell's reunion with Widow Springfield, facilitated by Eugene, is especially touching.
I agree. It shows how Eugene's actions have not only brought criminals to justice, but also helped heal old wounds and foster a sense of community in Rattlesnake Junction.
And even though Tumbleweed and his family decide to rejoin the Wild West show, leaving Rattlesnake Junction behind, it feels like a happy ending for everyone involved.
It does. But amidst all the excitement and heartwarming moments, there's one question that keeps popping up in my mind. Do you remember how the story begins with Eugene yearning for adventure? He's totally obsessed with the fictional exploits of Deadeye Dan and dreams of a life filled with thrills. What are your thoughts on that?
That's a great observation. It's his main motivation throughout the entire story. But what's interesting is that while Eugene gets his wish and experiences some incredible adventures, they often come at a cost. What do you make of that?
That's a really good point. His pursuit of excitement sometimes leads him into dangerous situations, putting himself and others at risk. He even ends up as a hostage at one point.
You're right. And it makes you wonder if the book is subtly suggesting that real-life adventure isn't always as glamorous or straightforward as it seems in fiction. It's like there's a deeper message beneath all the fun and excitement.
It's almost as if the story is saying that while adventure can be exhilarating, it also comes with responsibilities and consequences. And sometimes, the quiet moments in life are just as valuable.
Exactly. It adds a layer of depth to the story, making us think about the true nature of adventure and the importance of finding a balance between seeking thrills and appreciating the simple things in life.
I never thought about it that way before, but it makes so much sense. This book is more than just a lighthearted adventure through the Wild West. It's also a coming-of-age story about learning, growing, and discovering what truly matters. I'm curious to see how Eugene's journey continues to unfold in the final part of the story. What do you think we can expect?
I have a feeling we're going to see Eugene facing even more challenges that test his courage and force him to make difficult choices. And I'm also curious to see how Wendell's past continues to impact the events in Rattlesnake Junction. Stay tuned as we dive into the final part of the Misadventured Summer of Tumbleweed Thompson. So, as we get into this last part of the Misadventured Summer of Tumbleweed Thompson, Eugene's in a real tough spot. He finds out the clean shave gang is going to rob the train, but he's not sure about going to the marshal. You know, he's worried about what'll happen to Wendell, especially after finding out about his outlaw past. What do you think about Eugene's situation?
It's a hard choice, right? He wants to do the right thing, but he wants to protect Wendell, too. Wendell's become a friend, almost like a mentor to him.
Yeah.
It's like he's caught between doing what's right and staying loyal.
Yeah, you know, when he finally decides to tell Marshal Boggs, even though he's unsure about it, it shows how much he's grown.
Right.
It means he's putting everyone else's safety first, even if it could hurt his friendship with Wendell.
And remember that scene where Eugene, Tumbleweed, and Charlotte sneak into the gang's hideout? That creepy abandoned cabin?
Oh, yeah.
They find all this evidence there. Train schedules, maps, even a secret compartment under the floor.
Yeah, it's like a detective story. They're trying to figure out what the gang's going to do, but they have to be careful not to get caught themselves.
Right. And then there's that spooky story about Rubicon Springfield. You know, the widow's husband who died. It makes the whole thing feel even creepier.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the train robbery. It's total chaos. The gang blows up the express car, grabs the loot, and Wendell gets taken. Eugene, brave as ever, goes after him.
Talk about high stakes. Eugene has to think on his feet and use everything he's learned to outsmart those outlaws. He even escapes on Burger's own horse. It shows just how quick and brave he's become.
Then the whole thing ends with a big showdown at the courthouse. Eugene tricks the gang and leads them right into Marshal Boggs' trap.
Oh, that's so satisfying. Seeing those guys get what they deserve after all the crazy stuff that happened.
Yeah. But even with all the action, there are these really nice moments, too. Like when Wendell and Widow Springfield are reunited, and it's all because of Eugene.
Yeah, that's sweet. Eugene brought those criminals down, but he also brought people together and helped fix things from the past.
And even though Tumbleweed and his family leave Rattlesnake Junction to go back to the Wild West show, it feels like everything worked out for the best.
It does, doesn't it? You know, the way things change and how people grow. Eugene's probably sad to see his friend leave, but he's come a long way since the beginning. He faced danger, made tough choices, and turned into a braver, more mature person.
So what do you think our listeners should take away from all this?
I think The Misadventured Summer of Tumbleweed Thompson is more than just a fun story. It's like a reminder that the best adventures are the ones that really test us, teach us about ourselves, and show us how important courage, friendship, and doing the right thing are.
It's the kind of book that sticks with you, even if you're done reading. It makes you smile and think about your own adventures waiting out there.
So if you're looking for a book that's charming and funny, one that takes you back to the Wild West and reminds you about the power of friendship, you should definitely give The Misadventured Summer of Tumbleweed Thompson a try.
One last thing for everyone to consider. Throughout the book, we see Eugene always trying to get Tumbleweed's approval. He wants to prove he's got the right stuff. It makes you think, doesn't it? Of the people we admire and how their opinions can affect us. Are we looking for the right kind of approval? Are we defining the right stuff in a way that really fits our own values?
Yeah, that's something good to think about as you look at your own life and the people who inspire you.
Thanks for joining us. Subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into great books, and we'll see you next time.